Welcome back to iReview. The fundamental principle of responsible firearm ownership and ethical hunting comes down to one simple concept: using the right tool for the job. It is a matter of practical engineering. You wouldn't use a sledgehammer to drive in a picture hook. Yet year after year, we observe hunters taking wildly inappropriate setups into the field. Whether driven by ego, outdated advice from the gun counter, or sheer stubbornness, certain calibers have consistently proven to be liabilities rather than assets in real-world applications. Today we are cutting through the hype and looking at the data. We are breaking down 5 cartridges that are objectively poor choices for your standard North American hunt. In this review, we will evaluate these rounds based on 3 critical failure points: punishing recoil, ergo-dynamics that negatively impact accuracy, and shooter fatigue. Prohibitive ammunition costs, price per round metrics that simply do not justify the performance. Suboptimal ballistics, trajectory and terminal performance that fail to measure up to modern standards. Let's dive into the data and examine exactly why these rounds should probably stay locked in the back of your safe. Number 5. The .458 Winchester Magnum. One of the biggest offenders for a standard North American hunt. A round that guarantees brutal recoil, weeping wallets, and limiting ballistics is the legendary .458 Winchester Magnum. From a purely objective standpoint, the .458 Winchester Magnum is an absolute powerhouse. It was explicitly designed as a fight stopper to tackle the biggest, toughest, and most dangerous game on planet Earth. The cartridge generates staggering power, with muzzle energies pushing north of 5,000 foot-pounds. Because of this immense pressure, rifles chambered in .458 have to be built heavy to tame the beast, typically tipping the scales between 9 and 11 pounds. Ballistically, it is not designed for distance. It has the trajectory of a thrown brick, which strictly limits an ethical, effective range to inside 200 yards. Furthermore, the economics of this caliber are steep, with premium factory ammunition costing anywhere from $5 to $10 per single shot. Subjectively, applying this dangerous game cartridge to standard North American hunts is where the experience falls apart. If you are hunting a whitetail in Pennsylvania or an elk in Colorado, firing this shoulder-fired cannon is complete and absolute overkill. The recoil is so severe that for the average shooter, pulling the trigger isn't just uncomfortable, it is a violent event. This extreme punishment inevitably creates a deep, subconscious flinch that will destroy a shooter's accuracy when that one perfect shot presents itself. Beyond the recoil, the physical toll of carrying such a weapon is exhausting. Lugging an 11-pound rifle up a steep mountain easily turns what should be a fun hunt into a miserable forced march. Moreover, because the ammo is so prohibitively expensive, a day at the range can cost hundreds of dollars, meaning most guys simply do not practice enough to master the brutal recoil. In my personal judgment, the .458 Winchester Magnum is a spectacular cartridge, but strictly within its proper context. If you find yourself in the tall grass in Africa, and a Cape buffalo with a bad attitude decides you look like lunch, this is exactly the medicine you want. However, using it outside of that specific niche is a prime example of letting ego overshadow practicality. For North American game, it offers zero advantages while burdening the hunter with unnecessary weight, terrifying recoil, and absurd expenses. Unless you are actively booking a trip to Zimbabwe, the .458 Winchester Magnum is a cartridge that should firmly stay in the back of your safe. Number 4. The 6mm Remington. Coming in at number 4 on the list of headaches to avoid for your standard North American hunt is the 6mm Remington. Back in its day, it was marketed heavily as a do-it-all round for both varmints and deer. But in the modern age, it is a cartridge without a clear purpose. Looking at it from a purely objective standpoint, the biggest problem with the 6mm Remington lies in the rifling twist rate found in most of the classic rifles that chamber it. These barrels were engineered specifically to stabilize light, zippy bullets weighing around 55 to 100 grains. On paper, the muzzle velocity looks fantastic, clocking in at over 3,100 feet per second. While that impressive speed is great for taking down prairie dogs, the reality of physics catches up quickly. Because those projectiles are so light, they shed their speed and energy incredibly fast. Furthermore, they lack the sheer mass and sectional density required to reliably and ethically take down a big-bodied mule deer. Subjectively, relying on the 6mm Remington in the field today is mostly an exercise in frustration. Once you try to stretch those light bullets past 300 yards, they get pushed around by the wind like crazy, especially when you compare them to modern high BC ballistic coefficient bullets. Speaking of modern alternatives, the 6.5 Creedmoor has basically eaten the 6mm Remington's lunch. The Creedmoor does absolutely everything the 6mm was supposed to do, but it does it substantially better, offering far superior terminal performance and significantly less wind drift. On top of these ballistic shortcomings, the logistics of shooting a 6mm are a headache. Most big box stores simply do not carry 6mm Remington ammo. When you do manage to find it online, you end up paying a premium price for what is essentially old technology. In my personal assessment, hanging on to the 6mm Remington for deer hunting is just a case of old-fashioned stubbornness. It might have a nostalgic appeal for some purists, but as a practical tool for today's ethical hunter, it falls completely short. It is an outdated relic that offers absolutely zero advantage over the modern cartridges available today. Unless you are perfectly content limiting yourself strictly to varmint control with expensive, hard-to-find ammunition, you are far better off leaving the 6mm Remington in the back of the safe. Number 3. The 4.44 Marlin, a compromise classic. This one hurts my heart a little bit, because I am an absolute sucker for a good lever-action rifle. But as an ethical hunter, we have to be honest. Coming in at number 3 on the list of calibers you need to avoid is the 4.44 Marlin. I know the lever gun purists absolutely love this thing, but from a purely practical hunting standpoint, taking this cartridge into the woods is full of compromises. Looking at the round objectively, the 4.44 Marlin was born to be a brush buster. It was specifically designed to throw a massive 240 to 300 grain slug at moderate velocities. There is no question that at close range, this cartridge hits like a freight train. However, the physics of that heavy, slow-moving slug are undeniable. The moment that bullet leaves the barrel, it starts dropping like a rock. Furthermore, the recoil dynamics often surprise shooters. While many people expect a gentle push akin to a traditional 30-30, the 4.44 actually delivers a sharp, stout kick that can easily catch you off guard. Subjectively, relying on the 4.44 Marlin in the field creates an incredibly thin margin for error. Inside 150 yards, you are golden. But if you stretch it out past that distance, the trajectory becomes so steep that misjudging the range by just 15 or 20 yards means you are going to miss clean, or even worse, wound an animal. And nobody wants that. But the real nail in the coffin for the 4.44 Marlin is the everyday logistics of using it. Major ammo companies simply do not prioritize this cartridge anymore. As a result, you are frequently left hunting for expensive ammunition from small boutique makers just to feed your rifle. In my personal judgment, the 4.44 Marlin is a niche round that is stuck in a weird, inconvenient middle ground. It has been totally outclassed by other available options, namely the classic 45-70 Government. The 45-70 is right there, and ammo for it is available everywhere, offering everything from mild cowboy loads to full power stuff capable of stopping a grizzly. While the nostalgia of the 4.44 Marlin is undeniable, taking it into the woods today is just an unnecessary headache that offers no practical advantage over far more accessible and versatile alternatives. Number 2. The 300 Remington Ultra Magnum, too much of a good thing. Every fall, hunters head into the field with rifle setups that simply make you scratch your head. Coming in at number 2 on the list of calibers to avoid is the very definition of too much of a good thing, the 300 Remington Ultra Magnum, or RUM. While it might tempt hunters looking to maximize their range, taking this cartridge into the woods is packed with severe compromises. On paper, this cartridge is an absolute monster. It promises a laser-flat trajectory and earth-shattering power, boasting velocities over 3,200 feet per second. Mechanically, however, the 300 RUM is a notorious barrel burner. All of that hot powder acts like a sandblaster on the rifling in your barrel's throat. Furthermore, the financial metrics are daunting. Hunters are looking at premium ammunition costs ranging from $3 to $7 a shot. Subjectively, while it sounds like the ultimate long-range hunting tool, in the real world, the trade-offs are just brutal. First, the recoil in a reasonably light hunting rifle is completely vicious. We are talking about recoil that feels akin to shooting a .338 Lapua Magnum. That level of physical punishment inevitably creates a flinch, whether you want to admit it or not. Ultimately, that flinch completely negates the accuracy potential you bought the rifle for in the first place. Additionally, because of the rapid barrel wear, your expensive precision rifle will lose its accuracy far sooner than you think. Sighting in your scope and running just a few practice drills can quickly feel like you just made a car payment. In my personal opinion, for any animal on the North American continent, the 300 RUM is just not necessary. You can easily rely on a standard 300 Win Mag, or even a good old 30-06 to get the job done cleanly, entirely avoiding the abuse to both your shoulder and your wallet. Unless you have a very, very specific long-range hunt in mind, relying on the 300 RUM is just an incredibly expensive way to get a bruised shoulder. Number 1. The 223 Remington, a paper-thin margin for error. Every responsible gun owner knows that the first rule of being an ethical hunter is using the right tool for the job. Sometimes, however, a fantastic cartridge is pushed into a role it simply wasn't designed for. Coming in at number 1 on the list of calibers to avoid, a pick that is guaranteed to get the comment section fired up, is the 223 Remington. While it is an undisputed king in certain applications, it is the absolute worst choice for deer-sized game. On a purely objective level, the 223 Remington launches a tiny projectile, usually weighing only 55 to 77 grains. Because of this incredibly low mass, the cartridge generates the absolute bare minimum of energy required for an ethical kill on larger animals. Due to these stark ballistic limitations, many states have actually passed laws banning the use of .22 caliber centerfire rifles for big game hunting. Subjectively, while the 223 is an amazing cartridge for the AR platform, home defense, plinking, and varmint control, using it for deer creates a margin for error that is paper thin. If your shot placement isn't surgically perfect, and let's be honest, out in the field with adrenaline and buck fever pumping, it rarely is, that small bullet can easily fail to penetrate heavy bone or muscle to reach the vitals. This inevitably leads to wounded animals and long, heartbreaking tracking jobs that too often end with no recovery. Furthermore, people often argue that because it has no recoil, it is a great choice for new hunters, but I could not disagree more. Handing a novice hunter such a marginal caliber is simply setting them up for failure and a potentially traumatic first experience in the woods. In my personal opinion, taking the 223 Remington out for a deer hunt is a poor and completely unethical choice. It is far better to teach a new hunter how to properly manage the recoil of a much more appropriate cartridge, like a 243 Winchester or a 7mm 08. While I love the 223 for what it does best, you should definitely keep it reserved strictly for the coyotes and the steel targets. We understand that cartridge selection can be highly subjective, and some of you may have had great success with the rounds we've analyzed today. If your field experience contradicts our data, head down to the comments section and let us know why. We review all your feedback and always welcome a solid, well-reasoned debate. If you found this technical breakdown valuable, please hit that like button to support the channel. Be sure to subscribe and ring the notification bell so you never miss our upcoming deep dives and gear reviews. Until next time, stay safe, train smart, and we'll see you back on the range.